Good morning. Hey guys. All right, give me just a sec to get some things set up here. And I'll wait and see if anyone comes on live onto this live stream. If you are there, say hi. Alrighty. Cool. All right, let's get started. So good morning. Welcome along to, what is it? It's a Monday, isn't it? My gosh, it's crazy. I already feel like this week's already gotten well off onto a start. Anyway, welcome to this live stream about trusting the process and getting your mindset right. So this morning when I was with one of my clients and I was having a bit of a chat basically about when you hit a bit of a roadblock or what seems like a roadblock. So whether it's to do with your health and fitness, because this is when it most often is really glaring, but it can be to do with anything really. Whenever you've made a decision to up level, to step up, to lift your game and basically start acting from a place of higher power than you were before, and you actually are following through, it can be really, really hard when things don't go your way straight away. And this is nowhere more so than I think in health and fitness, especially if the goal is something like fat loss. However, we have, for our entire lives, had this drummed into us, this idea that fat loss equals weight loss equals the number on the scale. And it's just not the same thing. And I know that I think logically we all understand deep down somewhere that what your fat loss isn't equivalent to the number on the scale, that the number on the scale actually can be like hundreds of different reasons why it's gone up or down on any given day or any given week or anything like that. And I think that for most of us, we do logically understand that, but when it comes to actually applying it and not getting upset at it, it's a very different story, right? So when it comes to, for example, your weight, like you're on a fat loss plan, you're eating correctly, you're exercising correctly, and you're looking for results. And for example, you weigh in or you check in after a week and nothing's happened, nothing's changed. Or if it has, it's very minimal, right? Minimal is a whole other story. Minimal just means it's just gone a little bit slower. You're still going in the right direction. When it's completely no change, or what seems like no change on the scale or on the measurements, or when there's no change, I guess, in the way that you feel that you look or anything like that, this can be really disheartening. And I know what that's like. I used to be there all the time. And this was a big part of the reason why I have this history of binge eating disorder, because I expected results to happen immediately. And when they didn't, it really upset me. And I would get really, feel really crap about myself. And in order to make myself feel better, I'd go eat, which I know is a mechanism that a lot of us have, right? But here's the thing to understand, right? You need to trust the process. Now, this comes down to two things. This comes down to, one, working out and trusting that the process that you have in place is correct. So, for example, if you're working with a coach or working with a mentor or doing a particular program or whatever it is, you have to, first of all, trust that this program is actually a good one and that it's going to work for you. That's number one. And if that's true, and you do trust that this program will work for you and it is working for you, then you need to just learn to trust the process, that it's not always going to be immediate. It's not always going to be week to week. There are going to be times when, and this is where I guess another sort of true to split kind of thing comes in, is that there will be times when you will get lots of results, and there'll be times when you get little results in terms of your measurements or the scale or whatever it is. Now, this whole weight loss and fat loss thing are not the same thing. So keep in mind, if you're going by the scale, that's going to be very difficult for you to actually quantify when you're getting results and when you're not, especially if your goal is to lose fat, to look leaner, to look more toned, to fit a smaller size of clothing, whatever it is. If all you're going by is a scale, it's really not going to help you a great deal, because the scale can fluctuate many kilos on a daily basis, just based on 100 different things that have nothing to do with how much fat you've lost. It can be dependent on your hydration levels. It can be dependent on how you're bloating. For females, the time of month varies greatly. And I don't just mean if you have your period, that's when you're going to suddenly be heavier. Everyone is different. For some of us, it's going to be heavier right before. For some of us, it's going to be heavier during. Some of us, it's going to be heavier after. It really is very personal, and everyone's a little bit different. So don't go just because all of my friends always say that they crave chocolate beforehand and then they put on weight as soon as their period comes. That's how I have to be. It doesn't work like that. We all have our own, as much as, obviously we have the similar hormones running around, the way that they actually are processed in our body and the way that they show up in the way our body works is going to be very different. So sometimes you have to realize that the weight on the scale, firstly, is very much not telling you what the fat loss is going on. If you're on a plan that's working for you, that you're enjoying, that you're able to maintain, you're not getting hungry, you're not feeling like you need a binge, anything like that, then this is working for you quite simply, and the fat loss is going to come from it. But this is going to be a gradual thing. If you go on any kind of crash diet, of course you're going to lose a lot of water weight, and B, if you restrict your calorie intake enough, yes, you're going to lose a lot more fat. However, the rebound from it is going to be pretty bad, because anytime that you restrict yourself for a short term, there's going to be a rebound effect afterwards. It's not going to be as simple as, well, I can just go down to eating 500 calories a day now for the rest of my life. Of course you can't. So it's going to be a rebound, and the point is to avoid that rebound, which means in order to do that, you need to make it sustainable, which means you need to be on a day-to-day basis feeling good about it. And that means you're not going to be losing 4 or 5 kilos of fat a week. You might even be lucky to lose half a kilo of fat a week, and that is completely normal. I mean, that's not something that's actually, that people should be losing more. For sure, maybe in the first week you might lose a bit more if you've made a big drastic change to your eating plan. But again, you have to look at how sustainable is this eating plan. If it is a huge change, unless you absolutely flat out love it right from the beginning, if too many things have changed at once, you're likely to want to rebound, because it's not going to feel normal for you. It's not going to feel natural for you, and it's not going to feel sustainable for you. So in terms of trusting the process, this is a really big part. And this is why I always tell everyone that it's your mindset. It's not the plan that you're on. You can do whatever eating plan you want. You can do whatever exercise plan you want. And for the most part, it's going to work for as long as you do it. But when you stop, when you realize that you fucking hate this and you don't want to do it anymore and it's killing you and you're just over it and you just want to binge and sit on the couch and do nothing for a week, that's when it's all going to come crashing down, right? So a big part of this whole process, and I know I'm talking about fat loss because it's just the easiest one to sort of give an example for, but you have to learn to just trust the process and to trust that it's not always going to be all bells and whistles and just unicorns and butterflies. Sometimes it's going to be tough. Sometimes you're going to be tested. And this is exactly the same in anything that you do in life. It's not always going to just be, okay, well, now that I've, really switched on, I'm doing the work and I'm all gung-ho, so everything should just come easily from now on and it just be effortless and, like I said, rainbows and butterflies. It doesn't work like that in real life. Why the hell do you think that should work like that in fat loss? It doesn't. You have to trust the process that you're going to keep going regardless, because quite often, especially when it comes to fat loss, you will hit some kind of plateau. And people don't quite really understand what plateaus are. And I guess scientifically we still are a bit in the dark about it, right? But what you need to understand is basically it's when your body is, for whatever reason, a plateau and even just a week that hasn't had many results are two different things. A plateau is when you hit maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of no change consistently, right? Week to week, if you're not seeing much change, that's nothing. That's just your body dealing with life. And that's absolutely nothing. Like I said, if the scale hasn't moved, it doesn't mean you haven't lost fat. As I was talking to my client about this morning, quite likely if you've been in Melbourne the last couple of days, it has been really hot, right? So yesterday we had like 34 or something degrees, I think, and today's going to be 38. So this is really hot when we've gone from like less than 20 degree days, right? So it is a heat wave for us, and our bodies are adjusting to it. Our bodies are more likely holding a lot more water. Whereas even if you're hydrating and drinking plenty of water and everything, your body has to adapt to this change in temperature. So it's likely to hold more water, it's likely to bloat, it's likely to get quite inflamed, and you will know if you're a naturally inflamed person, right? So this morning when I went to the gym, I didn't wear my ring because I knew from yesterday and today that I was quite inflamed. I was very puffy because that's how my genetics are, that I will get really puffy, I will get really inflamed and chunky just from a change in weather. When it becomes really hot, my body doesn't adapt very well to it. So as much as I can try and, combat this, and I do in terms of my diet and in terms of exercise and water intake and everything like that, there's just some things I'm not going to be able to always influence, and one of them is going to be these temperature changes. So when that happens, I'm aware that if I were to measure myself today, I don't measure myself normally, but if I were, I'd probably be a little bit more, or if I was in a fat loss mode from last week, there might not be much change purely because my body's inflamed right now. It's trying to basically decompress itself from the heat, right? So it's really important to understand that that's just a week to week thing. Anything week to week, you don't need to be stressing about. When you do get to 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks without any change happening, okay, then maybe it is a plateau. And there's a lot of different ways to work through it. You'll hear lots of different theories. Most of them are bro science stuff that's not actually scientifically supported whatsoever, but it just sounds good, so people jump on it, like, suddenly include some HIIT cardio or get yourself a fat burner or whatever it is. People will just, throw anything at you that they can sell, basically, right? But to be really honest, the best thing you can do if you do get to that stage is just trust the process and keep doing it. If you have a plan, again, that you trust, that you understand why it's working and it has been working for you. This is really important. Obviously, if you've been doing it for a month and you've just started it and nothing's changed, then yeah, okay, this plan probably isn't for you. But if you've been doing it for a period of time and it's been working for you, chances are it is going to work for you, and you need to trust the process, because not everything is going to be easy all the time. You're not going to get results all the time. Our bodies are constantly adapting. They're constantly trying to basically deal with everything, deal with changes. If you have lost a bit of fat, your body's composition is changing, and your body is having to adapt to that, which means that some weeks it's just not going to show on the scales or show on the measurements or whatever it is. And then, as a lot of people will attest, something that I think very scientifically is called the whoosh effect, basically where you've just gone for a few weeks without any real change, and then suddenly it drops very quickly. Your weight will drop very quickly, measurements will go down very quickly, you'll suddenly just seem to go whoosh and just get littler, right? And this will work the opposite way as well, the opposite whoosh effect, whatever that is, right? If you're trying to gain muscle, if you're trying to gain mass, there may be weeks where you're not seeing much change, where everything's just looking the same. And especially when it comes to muscle growth, this is a slow process. So you're going to have to learn to trust the process and just keep it going regardless, even if you're not getting results week after week. This is where the mindset comes in, because so many people get really just thrown off by that immediate gratification week to week. Why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? And they don't stick it out. And then they blame it when they get to, the end of the week and nothing's changed, and they go and feel crappy about themselves and suddenly fall off their plan, can't be bothered to go to the gym, eat their way through the weekend, whatever it is. And then they come back the next week and jump on the scale and notice that they've put on 4 kilos, and they blame the plan, they blame that, and they don't blame the fact that they just didn't trust the process and didn't continue with it. Well, what did you expect was going to happen when you gave up and just threw the towel in and went backwards? Obviously, that's what was going to happen. And it's really important to say, because I've heard it so many times. I've tried everything, and every time I do, I just put it all back on. Yeah, because you went back to doing what you were doing, not because you trusted the process and kept going and then the weight magically found you again. That didn't happen. You gave up and you quit and you went backwards into what you were doing before. So of course you were going to get the same results you were before. That's obvious, right? I know I'm probably starting to come across a little bit bitchy and a little bit, arrogant or something. I get that a lot. I get told I'm quite blunt and that kind of thing. And that's pretty normal, because that's how I am day to day. So if that's how I'm coming across, then You got it right, I guess. I am pretty blunt and pretty in your face, because I don't see a reason in bullshitting you. I don't see a reason in dancing around in circles when I can just tell you how it is, and you can either accept it or you can not. You can either make a change based on things that I'm saying, or you can not. As always, it is your choice, baby, 100%. Nobody's going to ever force you to do anything. However, I would rather know that I have done what I can to be honest and to lay it out for you as it is, as opposed to just kind of, patting you on the head and trying to placate whatever you think is going on so that you feel better about falling off the plan and just going gung-ho at it, because there's no point. It's not going to get you where you want to go, and I'd rather you get there than not, right? So this is, I guess I should probably mention, if you haven't seen already, I've got my Mindset for Fat Loss seminar or webinar happening this Friday, 25th November. It's 7 o'clock. You do need to register for it. And this, if any of this, what I'm talking about today, is resonating with you and you're seeing some habits there that you are familiar with and that you want more sort of mindset techniques and tips to work through, make sure you register for this free seminar, because it is where we're going to be talking about everything to do with mindset. So literally, like I said, it doesn't matter what plan you're doing, what you're eating, what you're exercising. I can definitely help you with that if you need. But if you're happy with what you're doing and you are trusting that this is working for you, and it's just your mindset that's holding you back from committing and being consistent enough to get the results you want, you need to be in this webinar, because it is where we're going to literally just hone in exactly on how to get your mindset right, how to really set the goals that you want finally, how to get everybody else's opinions out of your head, how to stay consistent, and how to just get absolute 100% crystal clear focus on your goals. Because once you've got the mind, the body will do anything that you tell it to. It's as simple as that. It's always your mind that you have to convince. Your body will just go along with it, right? So if you're not on that yet, I'll post the link underneath here. If you're watching this on the Facebook live stream. If it's on the YouTube replay, it won't be on there, but I will pop that underneath there. Make sure you get registered for that so you can get into the private Facebook group and watch that webinar live, or even on replay if you can't catch it Friday night. And I'll leave it there. So a little bit of a recap. Trust the process. If you believe that what you're doing, and you trust whoever you're working with, whoever's helping you, all that kind of stuff. If you do trust it, if you do want to keep going with it, then just trust the process. Just keep going with it. I promise you, you will get there, but you really need to trust it, and you need to keep working through it even when it's tough. It's just like anything in life. There are going to be tough times. There are going to be times when nothing seems to be happening on the outside, and there's a lot of inner work going on inside, and this is crucial. In order to get anything to happen on the outside, you have to have the inner work done first, right? All right, I'll leave it there, guys. Enjoy your Monday. Train hard.